Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why customers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
From Harare, Zimbabwe, this is a One Extraordinary Marriage show, where being busy is overdone, romancing is fun, and scheduling sex has taken the guesswork out of wondering when you're going to get some. Creators of the 6 Pillars of Intimacy, I'm Tony DeLorenzo, your co-host, along with my beautiful wife, Elisa. From coast to coast and around the world, thank you for joining us. It's time to talk sex, love, and commitment. Give us a call or text us on the Hug hotline at 858-876-5663 or send us an email to hugs@oneextraordinarymarriage.com. In today's episode, we're talking about why so many marriages start to feel boring and what to do about it.
There's a quote from Victor Borge that says, "Laughter is the shortest distance between two people." And I think as we dig into today's episode about marriages feeling boring, we're going to talk about having a whole lot more fun and laughter. But first, we start every episode with a hug. And it's a way to celebrate what the two of you are doing, the transformation that the two of you are making in your marriage. And this hug comes from a couple who was part of the 6 Pillars at Sea marriage getaway. It says, "We were very excited to be part of this event again. We had a fabulous time learning and growing together. Thanks so much for all you do to put on such an awesome event. Thank you to all the wonderful couples for being so vulnerable in their conversations, not only with us, but also more importantly, with one another."
Yeah, wasn't that an amazing event? I mean, our 4th annual marriage getaway cruise, well, our 4th annual marriage getaway, this was our 2nd cruise. We did 2 on land, and it was absolutely fantastic for, I think, every single couple that joined us. And you and I had a wonderful time. Right now, we are recording from Harare, Zimbabwe. We got off the ship. We drove home. 3 days later, we drove back to Miami, and we flew for 42 hours total time by the time we ended
Total travel time, door to door.
Door to door here in Harare. And so, number one, I just want to say, and a huge thank you to ZimWorks, who has worked with us to bring us out here. We spoke at their company, a number of functions and events for their company, but we're also speaking to pastors and chaplains, American Chamber of Commerce, a national event. And so to all you folks from Zimbabwe and the continent of Africa who've reached out, thank you. We're truly honored and blessed to have you part of the One family. It's been amazing.
It truly has been amazing. And I think just ultimately life-changing for the two of us. And, I think about it as we're jumping into this episode, one of the concepts that seems to have been repeated time and time again, it doesn't matter if we were in Ohio, in Louisiana, on the 6 Pillars at Sea marriage getaway, and even at these events that we did in Zimbabwe and Zambia, there's one thing that I keep seeing, and it's this idea that, marriage sometimes gets boring over time and gets a little bit routine. Right. And, it's not surprising because this is what we've seen in movies and TV shows for years, right? Shows like Everybody Loves Raymond or King of Queens, where marriage looks like constant frustration, or even movies like Date Night, where the whole storyline was built around a couple who's fallen into routine and lost that sense of fun. Over and over again, we're shown that marriage eventually becomes something that you manage, but not necessarily something you enjoy. And, it's something to think about, because if it's one of those things where the only people who look like they're having fun in relationships are like the singles or those who are just dating, then I think at some point in time, and, pose this question at the events that we've had, why would anyone, want to get married? When it looks like they're all having fun and married people aren't necessarily portrayed as having fun. One of the big lines I've used again in a lot of these events is, make marriage fun again. And we've talked about that. But, we get into this place where I think for a lot of couples, and I think this is something we've talked about, at every event, that over time, marriage becomes more about managing life than enjoying each other. It becomes boring. And, I actually looked up the definition of boring because it's been a little while since we've thrown a definition into an episode. But the definition for Merriam-Webster is causing weariness and restlessness through lack of interest.
Wow. And that really hits at that recreational intimacy pillar.
It totally does.
Like when we look at that pillar and we go, okay, if there are cracks in this pillar, it's because there's weariness and restlessness through lack of interest. Because recreational intimacy is the fun pillar. Mm-hmm. It's the activities we do as a couple to engage one another, to have closeness and connection.
Absolutely. And, I think that part of that definition that really strikes me is just that lack of interest. Mm-hmm. Right. Which is not something that happens overnight. Because if you think back to, different seasons of your marriage, your early years, maybe before kids, that type of thing, there was likely a lot of fun in your relationship, right? You could laugh more easily. Maybe you flirted, you stayed up late talking, you tried new things just because you could. And then life started to fill up.
And life does happen.
Life happens, right? Careers, kids, responsibilities, schedules, all of these things that are good, right? I won't say anything is bad, but they're demanding. And I think what happens with that, and I've seen it in our own marriage and so many of the couples that I've had the privilege to coach and even talk to as we've been traveling so much lately, it just gets into this place where, fun seems like it's something for the future, for another day. It's something that will come instead of saying, just like I feel is your 100% your mantra, be intentional
and take action
around this area of fun. And, what I have to say is, as a marriage coach, when the fun starts to disappear from a marriage, when couples don't have fun anymore, when there isn't that place of, hey, how do we connect and just, not deal with all the responsibilities, it changes. It changes a marriage. I see this, and I know you and I have seen this in different seasons as well, where, like you become a really good team. You can handle all the things that need to get done, the house, the schedules.
Well, I think we become very good roommates.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you end up living like roommates. I mean, there's a reason we did, I think it's episode 841 that we actually titled Living Like Roommates.
Yep.
Just because of the seasons that we've been in our own marriage, and the marriage can start to feel serious all the time. And there's just no playfulness. There's no fun to it. You don't laugh.
There is no laughter.
There is no laughter. And, fun is a connection.
And something I want to say real quick just about laughter. I think we saw it a lot on the marriage getaway cruise. It was something many of the couples shared with us, was how much fun they got to have and laughing with one another and doing activities together. Mm-hmm. It was,
we had couples trying new things. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking of all the couples that went diving.
Diving and different.
And there was that one dive where it was like.
Oh yes, they had just the helmet, and
you were tethered.
It's like the Greeks up in Tarpon Springs who go for the sponge divers. Yes, we had that. People swimming with the pigs.
Oh yes, pigs. That was
things
a big,
of that nature. And let me just say this though too: you don't have to go on a cruise.
Right.
You don't have to do extensive excursions to go have fun and laugh with one another. You can make fun happen in your home.
Well, and I even think about, hearing some of those couples on the cruise, just going to the comedy shows, playing, sitting in a Price is Right game where, they're trying to answer the questions. I'm thinking about the different shows that were on there that didn't cost anything extra. It was just a matter of being intentional and making the time to attend. And I think really when it comes to that recreational intimacy and looking at that, fun is not like an extra pillar. It's one of the 6 pillars.
Correct.
It has a place of importance in the marriage. And it's often one of the areas when I first start working with a couple, and I think this is important for you all to know, when I first start working with many couples, I'm asking them, like, what do you do for fun? Like, when was the last time you went on a date? How do you spend time together where you aren't having these big serious talks about your conversation or about your marriage? Or, every conversation revolves around the marriage, those types of talks. But,
that can be draining.
Oh my gosh.
It gets draining. It gets exhausting. And you feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders over and over again.
And sometimes you just need an ice cream cone.
Yeah.
Which is often one of the things. I mean, obviously, when I'm talking to folks that are way far north, ice cream cone may not always be the first thing that is feasible. But what I love about the idea of an ice cream cone, and I want you all just to think about this for a second, is that it is intentional. Ice cream is going to melt, right? You can nurse a cup of coffee for hours, but an ice cream cone is going to melt.
Yeah, ice cream cone, not an ice cream cup, because a cup can still hold.
Oh, you're right. I hadn't thought about that.
Right?
Nuance.
Yes.
But I'll challenge people to go get an ice cream cone because I know it's a short period of time. They can have some fun. They can get out of their environment and just connect.
Mm-hmm.
And really, when you're building those intentional moments of connection, that's what's so critical. Because I want you to know, we want you to know, marriage doesn't have to be serious or boring all of the time. And if it's been a while since you've had some fun, if it's time for a reset in this area, we're going to talk about exactly how to do that after this break. Spring looks a little different in our house these days. We don't have little kids outgrowing shoes overnight, but we do have young adult kids still at home, stepping into careers and making big life decisions. And as parents, it's a reminder that even in this stage, our desire to protect what we're building hasn't changed. If anything, it's made us more intentional. We've been looking at our life insurance and asking, do we actually have the right coverage for where we are now? That's where Policy Genius comes in. They're not an insurance company. They're a marketplace that lets you compare quotes from top insurers side by side, so you can find what works for your family and your budget. And their licensed team works for you, walking you through everything: coverage, pricing, paperwork, so there's no guesswork, just clarity. Protect your family with a policy that grows with your life. With Policy Genius, you can see if you can find 20-year life insurance policies starting at just $276 a year for $1 million in coverage. Head to policygenius.com to compare life insurance quotes from top companies and see how much you could save. That's policygenius.com. After 6 weeks of traveling all around the world, it's not hard to realize that we need a reset. Maybe for you, it's not travel, but long work weeks and full weekends. That's why I really like Prolon. It's a 5-day fasting mimicking diet designed to help your body reset and rejuvenate from the inside out, supporting fat loss, energy, metabolism, and even healthier looking skin. Prolon takes the guesswork out of it. It's easy to say, I'm going to eat better, but without a plan, life often gets in the way. Prolon gives you everything, all prepackaged, so you can actually follow through. Ready for your own reset? For a limited time, Prolon is offering One Extraordinary Marriage listeners 15% off site-wide, plus a $40 bonus gift when you subscribe to their 5-day program. Just visit prolonlife.com/marriage. That's PROLONLIFE.com/marriage to claim your 15% discount and your bonus gift. prolonlife.com/marriage. We're back, and we're talking about the power of reintroducing fun to your marriage. And some of you might be listening and thinking, you know what? Yeah, we maybe have gotten a little serious, or maybe we're a little boring or routine or whatever that word is that says, hey, it's a little bit more like living like roommates than living like lovers. However you phrase that for the two of you. I want you to know first and foremost, and this is why I shared the ice cream example right before we went to the break, is that reintroducing fun doesn't have to be a massive overhaul.
It doesn't.
Right? It's like you were saying. You don't have to go swim with the pigs and go on these big excursions on a cruise. You can actually start small. Start with the baby steps, right? And thinking through, what does this look like for us? But the first thing that you've got to really consider is, do we have space in our lives for fun?
Wow. That is a big one, because if our calendars are full and we're running this way, that way, and the other way, schlepping kids around, and believe me, Elise and I have done that ourselves, and yet we look up and we never see each other because our calendars are so packed, it's going to be very tough for us to fit this pillar in to our lives and into our marriage.
Well, and so many people, and I think we in different seasons felt guilty to this ourselves. Like, well, there'll be time when, there's always that when phrasing of, we'll have fun when. And the reality is you need to have fun now. And it might be something small. It might be that ice cream cone or, going for a walk together, right? Getting out for a walk and talk, playing card game, right? You all have heard us talk about Monopoly Deal.
Yeah. We've been speaking so much in the memory I always bring up around recreational intimacy was when our children were younger.
Mm-hmm.
And we each had one child. We'd put them to bed. Whoever got the first child down would go out, go buy some food. And then we'd lay out a blanket, put up some candles, put some music on, and we'd sit on our living room floor
mm-hmm.
and we would just have a dinner. And we would just sit there and we would laugh. We would talk about different things. And then we would pull out Nintendo Wii.
Usually it was Yahtzee. Don't forget about the Yahtzee.
Oh, we did pull out Yahtzee.
Don't forget about the Yahtzee.
I don't know how we played Yahtzee with our children sleeping and that being so loud.
I'm really grateful.
About Yahtzee.
I'm really grateful all these
Nintendo Wii.
These years later that we had really good sleepers. Once our kids figured out how to sleep through the night, they were excellent sleepers. And whether we're talking about Yahtzee or we're talking about Naked Wii.
Well, no, it wasn't Naked Wii. It was we would play Wii and we would play the sports game, and whoever would lose one of the games
Strip Wii
would have to take off some piece of clothing. And so we would play like bowling, and then there was baseball. I think there was tennis too. And so whatever we did, luckily neither of the children ever woke up on us and walked out into the living room while we were naked. But literally that moment supersedes so many other moments we have had. But I also would say, even to this day, Elise and I will go out and we will bring our Monopoly Deal. And I remember the last time we went out to go for some pizza right there in Estero in our hometown. And we went to go get some pizza. And we know it just takes some time. And Elisa just pulled out the deck of Monopoly Deal. And we just started playing. And our server, she was so sweet. She came by and she just sort of looked at us and she goes, "Are you guys playing a game?" We're like, "Yeah, we figured, it's just a fun way for us just to connect and have some fun together while we wait for our pizza." And she was like, "Okay, do you need anything?" And just walked on her way. But I see people when we do that at a restaurant looking at us because we're not looking at our phones.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at each other and we're having fun. We're laughing and we're talking.
You kicked my butt that day.
I did. That was those were solid wins. I mean, solid wins.
I had forgotten about that. I got my butt kicked 2 out of 3.
I remember that one. That's gonna be one I remember for a while.
So you do have to have time, right? And again, time to reconnect isn't necessarily hours. It's amazing if you've got 10 or 15 minutes that's just focused on you, your spouse, and your marriage, and laughing, having fun again, like doing something together, how much you can shift the marriage. But you have to have this willingness too to be playful. And this is something that I think over the course of time with the barriers, or not barriers, but with the burdens that life brings. My husband's looking at me because I am the more serious one.
Yeah, I would like for you to expand on this one a little bit, because I saw this and I'm like, there have been many a times in our marriage when I have
attempted
to make you laugh or get out of the day-to-day and have been shot down.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's true. It's one of those things where I'm more the optimist. I'll laugh. We'll figure something out. And you will get like a little pitch to your voice, let's just say, that's a little snippy, and a like, don't do this. And so for somebody who is in that place, and I know you've worked with other couples around this, what does that look like? Because that can be a form of rejection.
Absolutely.
Rejection doesn't only happen in our sexual intimacy pillar. It can happen in our recreational intimacy. It could happen in our financial intimacy. It could happen in any of the pillars of intimacy. But in this one in particular, where we are trying to have fun, we are trying to laugh, and our spouse is so serious at times, what does that look like?
Well, I think for me over the last few years, especially, it's been figuring out like what does make me laugh, because just by personality, I tend to be more serious.
Yes, you do.
I'm much more black and white than Tony is. We even had that as we were preparing for this episode.
Yes.
And but when I find things that make me laugh, I totally
you giggle.
Like it's a full on, like full body laugh,
Mm-hmm.
and I can do that. And so it is figuring out those things. But I have to work harder at it, because defaulting to playfulness and partly, I mean, like, we're not going to psychoanalyze Elisa here, but I was a very serious child, and playfulness, so this has been a lifelong thing that I like. Fun for me feels like the extra. And so
fun for Elisa is her face in a book.
That is not true. You are still going off of that narrative. Like, that is not. As my eyes have gotten older and stuff, it's not near.
Older, now you're blaming them on your eyes. Fun for you is sitting somewhere and reading your book.
That's not true.
It's not?
No.
Okay.
You keep saying that, and that is like such an old narrative.
Is it really?
It really is.
Okay.
That is something that I do, but that's not what I would consider fun. That's not that, I do love to read. Okay. Period. End of story. Always has been. But loving to read and considering that fun and playful with you, that's not
those two don't go together.
They don't go together.
Okay.
Right. And so you've got to figure out, is it sending memes back and forth to one another? Is it, watching, 10 minutes of a comedy skit? Is it, what is fun? Is it going to play mini golf? Is it sitting in a restaurant when it doesn't matter who's sitting there, and you do pull out Monopoly Deal or then another card game, and you just engage in that because a little friendly competition breaks the routine, right? It's stepping into that place. And if you are the more serious one, I hear you and I feel you.
And I will say, though, that even when we are on our cruise and we've met people around the country as we've spoken, there tends to be one who's more outgoing, gregarious, wants to try all the activities, mm-hmm. right? And one who's a little more reluctant, or sort of like, I really don't want to do that.
Or maybe not reluctant, but just it wouldn't be like their top of mind. Because I don't necessarily know that it's a reluctance. It's just like I think we saw a lot of couples around, as we've been traveling, where one's like, let's go. And the other one's like, yeah, okay, I'll think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so being in that place, but it's finding those small moments and not overthinking it, because we can get into this place of like, oh, I've got to laugh, or I've got to be playful. I've got to be flirty. I've got to, and now all of a sudden we have all this burden of I've got to, instead of, hey, how am I learning to be more playful in this season of my life? How am I bringing flirting back? How are we, finding shared moments together? Don't get so up in your head. This is speaking, coming from someone who tends to get up in her head. Don't get so into that place where it's all about like, oh, I've got to do this just right in order to get laughter or connection. But hey, I'm just going to like send this funny reel over and see if it makes him laugh. Or, mm-hmm. Even just yesterday, we got our daughter calling us from her university because there was an alligator crossing the way, and she wanted Tony to see it. She's like, is Dad there? Is Dad there? We're FaceTiming. She's like, there's a gator. And for us, being Floridian residents now, when we see gators, especially for Tony, it's a really, really big deal.
Yeah. We have our From Dinner to Desire program. And I just want to mention that it's all about helping you reconnect, laugh, and spark intimacy without pressure, awkwardness, or guesswork. And it's a fun way for you to go, okay, here's what we can do. Mm-hmm. We want to strengthen our recreational intimacy. Now, this does not mean it has to lead to sex, but what we put together here is a way for you to engage one another in that recreational intimacy pillar. Because sometimes it's just tough. Like, people are like, what do I do? Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, you're saying play card games, or you're saying to do this. And sometimes it's just like, we need a little something more to help us along. And so we created this. You can go oneextraordinarymarriage.com/dinner. Check it out.
Absolutely. And, the other thing that I would say in this, obviously you've got to have time. You've got to have this willingness to be playful again. But, don't wait until you feel like it.
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have to take action before you feel like it. Because contrary to popular belief, actions don't follow feelings. Feelings follow actions. So if you want more fun, if you want more playfulness, you have to start before you feel funny or playful or any of those types of things. Getting into that place of saying, you know what, I'm actually going to start bringing this into our marriage. There is a reason why I carry Monopoly deal cards, because I know if I need a break from the seriousness, we can play 2 out of 3 and somebody's going to win and somebody's not. And we're good with it. That's why we do 2 out of 3, because it's just that infusion of fun between the two of us. But I don't wait until like, oh, this would be a great time to have fun with Tony. It's, oh, let me choose an action and the fun and the playfulness will follow.
Yeah. And as you look at your recreational intimacy, it's one of the ways where you can strengthen your other pillars of intimacy. And sometimes the others can feel very heavy, that right now you need to lighten up. You need to release, like your emotional intimacy. You're like, oh my gosh, it feels just tough to have a conversation because every time we do, something tough comes up. Or maybe around your sexual intimacy or your financial intimacy. This is the one where we can just get back to that place of play, of fun, of just being around each other and going, I enjoy being with you. Nothing major, nothing crazy. I enjoy being with you.
Absolutely. And so, if you found yourself in that place where you're like, maybe we're a little routine, maybe things have gotten a little boring, it's time to look at your calendars. Where can you make a window of time? What can you start sharing with one another, even if you're not the more fun spouse? How do you share fun things with your spouse to bring that playfulness back? And then really, what does it look like to just take action today and not wait until you feel like it, but step into this place of saying, you know what? We don't have to be an old boring married couple. We can create our own fun together.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Well, as we shared, we have been around, we have been seeing you. And I would say that this pillar of intimacy is the one we get so many laughs around, but go do it. Don't just laugh and be like, oh, wow, that's great, Tony and Lisa. Take this week and go, how can we engage one another in some form of activity that will bring some joy into our lives? We can set everything aside. It doesn't mean that everything's just going to go away. I'm not saying that, because those issues and those problems will still be there after you have the fun. We have those as well. But we need to find those moments where we can laugh together, where we can find joy together, where we can find some commonality together. So go out there this week, figure out a way that would be best for you, and then more importantly, take action. Go do it together. You guys have yourselves a fantastic week. We'll catch you next week. Love you guys.